Lucas, you've just done a one-to-one coaching session with Nick. What were the key things that you were working on?
Well, basically, I a lot of the time I look to go across the line of the ball. I want to be hitting the ball through mid-on a lot more than I do. So at the start, I was just trying to get my head in the right position, lining up with the ball nicely, and just punching it through mid-on instead of whipping it through my bottom hand through mid-wicket.
I understand through you using quite a lot of cones. Could you just describe what they were for and how it helps you as a player?
Well, at the start, we used this so I know where the fielders are. So when obviously we were swinging it back in, as if I'm playing the new ball. I'm an opening batsman, and all we wanted to do is try and make it as much like a game situation as possible. So it's well and good going into a net where you get out 3-4 times and it doesn't matter. If you do that in a game of cricket, you're out. So it's all about trying to make it as real as possible. So when I walk out, I know what field I'm batting against. I know there's 2 slips behind me, so if I nick it, I'm out. I know that there's an extra cover. I know there's a mid wicket, so I can't just chip one up because I'll be out. I've got to play proper cricket shots, and I want to be as professional and as game-like as possible.
Sounds like you have to practice with purpose, haven't you? So it's
Yeah.
not just mindless training, there's some thought process.
Oh yeah, 100%. I find that I can get more success out of my training sessions. I get more out of them when I have a goal. Where sometimes I might just net and say, if I have squad training, for example, and I'll net and I'll say, I just don't want to get out here. I want to bat for 15-20 minutes, and I want to walk out with my wicket intact. Another day, if it's a technical session, I might not worry about how many times I get out. I worry about the fact that my feet, every time I set up, are lined up and my toes point to where I want the ball to go, for example. But I make sure that when I walk into a net, I know exactly what I'm trying to get out of it.
In terms of Nick's role during that coaching one-to-one session, what were the key things that he was trying to get across, and how did he go about doing that?
Well, basically, Nick's very good at highlighting things that I might myself, obviously when I'm feeling and what I'm doing, I might not notice. So, for example, one example is my bat very often comes through straight. It comes around the back of me, and then balls that I want to hit through mid-on, for example, I'm skewing to extra cover. So then what I'll try and do to overcompensate is go through mid-wicket. So what he'll say is, look at this, he might video me, for example, watch the video, and he'll highlight to me so I can see it to myself what I'm trying to achieve. So that when I set up, I know that's what I'm looking for, and he's very good at highlighting the points that I need to do, basically.
In terms of your super strengths, as it were, how do you develop your strengths as well as your weaknesses?
Well, I think that's very important. If you can't score off the balls you want to score off, then that's what batting's about, is scoring runs. It's a big thing for me. Is strength is a weakness of mine because I'm very good. I've got a strong bottom hand. I'm very good at whipping it through mid wicket, and on a flat wicket and a good pitch, it scores a lot of runs for me. It nibbles around a bit. It's quite difficult. So a big thing for me is highlighting when I want to attack the ball, when I want to use my strengths. I'm a very good cutter. That's if it's a ball short and wide on any wicket, you can play that. So that's always a safe shot for me. I like to practice my cuts, but it's important to highlight when I want to attack, when the situation allows me to play to my strengths, and when the situation says actually you need to sit in here for the team, so that it makes it easier later on when the ball's a bit older.
What do you believe the fundamental role of a coach is?
Well, you've got whoever they're coaching, you've got to make sure they're enjoying it. I think that's a big thing for me. I've played cricket since I was really small. My brothers got me involved. They played cricket, and I went on cricket grounds every weekend. Watch my dad, watch my brothers. That's all I cared about: cricket, and because I enjoyed it. And I think if I don't turn up to a session and I don't feel like I've had a good hour and I've enjoyed that hour, or I've achieved something in that hour, I'm quite disappointed. No matter how well I'm hitting the ball, no matter how well I'm striking it, if I've set out to do something, I want to do it, and I enjoy the challenge of enjoying it. And I think a coach should highlight that a challenge is something to be overcome, but to be enjoy the challenge, don't fear it.
Do you believe the coaching role changes as players develop?
Yes, definitely. I think from young cricketers who are just starting the game, it's very much a case of holding a cricket bat, holding a cricket ball, and just play the game. I think personally, I learnt a lot as a young a young lad just going on. And to be honest, when I went to watch my brothers, I didn't watch much cricket. I was on the side, we had to spin and an old cricket bat, just playing. And I think that's very important when you're very young. You just got to play the game, learn the game, enjoy it. And obviously, the higher you want to get up, the more you want to achieve. And if you want to be an international cricketer, when you want to be a county cricketer, when you want to be a Guernsey cricketer, I think it's important that the higher you get, it's going to change. It's going to be a bit more technical. I think you should. I train in the gym. I try and be as fit as I can.
If you had to give your message to young aspiring cricketers who are aspiring to be people like yourselves and go on to play for county cricket, what would the key message be?
It's very important to go out and enjoy the game. And if you don't want to turn up if you're one day game, it's 100 overs of cricket. If you go out and score 100, you're in there for 30 overs more. You're in the field for 50 overs. If you're not enjoying it, you shouldn't be playing the game. So I think it's hard. You've got to look forward to being there, and you've got to work hard. And I think it's very important that it's a success will come from you working hard, putting the time in, getting up early, going to the gym, putting time in the net, so that when you go out on a Saturday afternoon, you're up in the batting, you can score big runs because you can bat a long time, because of the hard work you've done previously. Just turning up on a Saturday afternoon is great, but you've got to put the time in beforehand.
In terms of, you mentioned earlier in the interview about learning through playing games, how does that balance between more of a technical session to actual game-based learning? Where do you sit on that as a player?
I'm all for game-based learning. I think you need to be obviously you need the technical side of it. If you can't hit a ball, it's a ball that's swinging away. You can't really open the batting, but I'm all for just play the game. I think you learn a lot more from being out there and playing than you do spending hours and hours in nets, which is very important. Don't get me wrong, but I think you need to be playing the game. And I think the more you play, the more you'll learn. The more someone gives me an opportunity to play a game, I'll turn up and I'll put everything on the line to play, and that's I believe in it.
What do you believe the fundamental role of the coach is?
The fundamental role of the coach is to support the player. I think the player, especially the higher the level of cricket, it needs to take responsibility for their own game. But I think they maybe even highlight to the coach, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to get out of the session, and the coach is guiding them and helping them to do that. But I think it's got to be player centred, and they've got to, it's got to be what they want from the session.